Probably for the best. Right, come in a little bit closer.
Is that Beefeater Jim?
Hendrix, obviously. Right, ladies and gentlemen, okay, obviously, it would be highly unprofessional of me to drink gin while taking you on a guided tour, okay? It would be highly unprofessional. So before anybody gets on TripAdvisor and starts complaining, okay, it's not full of gin, okay? It's full of water. It's full of water mixed with gin. Right, we're now standing in what's known as the outer ward of the Tower of London. That is to say, we're between the inner and the outer ballium, or defensive wall. And the inner wall stands 50 feet high in certain parts. The outer one behind you is 28 feet thick in certain parts. Down there is Mint Street, where the coins of the realm were designed and produced until 1810. Now, the buildings which house the mint are known as the casemates, houses within the wall. And they not only serve as a museum, which you can go into over there, but they also serve as accommodation for myself and some of my yeoman warder colleagues and our families. Yes, as yeoman warders of the Tower of London, we do get the privilege of living here. And yes, you guessed it. It is awesome! Now over there is a tall, narrow archway. It's known as the Sally Port or Royal Entrance, beyond which there was a small drawbridge leading out to the Queen's Stairs, directly accessing the River Thames. Now rather than travel with the dark, dirty, dangerous streets of London, royalty and nobility would travel in their impressive barges along the river. They would tie up alongside those stairs and gain access through that archway, which is original, and it dates back more than 700 years. It was at that very archway that King Henry VIII so lovingly greeted his second wife, Anne Boleyn, on the eve of her coronation in 1533. But poor Anne was fated to return to the Tower just 3 years later, for a very different reason, for a very different gate. Now this is the Bell Tower. So who can tell me why it's called the Bell Tower?
It has a bell.
Tower of the Bell.
Come on. Because it's got a bell in it! Inside the white belfry on the top contains the oldest surviving curfew bell in London. When sounded an alarm, that would have been the signal to close all the gates, lower the portcullis, and man the battlements for defence. Nowadays, it is sounded at the end of each and every day to warn all visitors that the tower grounds are now closed. If you hear that bell, ladies and gentlemen, it does mean get out! And the Bell Tower is the strongest of the 13 on the inner wall, but there are only 2 prison chambers inside. Due to its form of construction, it is obvious that prisoners were held within this tower. A man for all seasons, Sir Thomas More, Lord Chancellor of England, was held for 15 months in the lower chamber for refusing to accept King Henry VIII as supreme head of the church in England. And he was to say, I am the king's good servant, but God first. At the same time, and for the very same reason, his good friend John Fisher, Bishop of Rochester, was held in the upper chamber. Both men were to suffer terribly, but neither could be persuaded to abandon their Catholic beliefs. And so they were finally let out through those gates, where they were took up to Tower Hill and publicly beheaded as traitors in the summer of 1535. Now James Scott, the Duke of Monmouth, eldest of the 13 illegitimate children of King Charles II, was also imprisoned in this tower. After the death of his father in 1685, this handsome and popular young man, very much like myself, was persuaded to stake his claim to the throne by virtue of his uncle James II being a Roman Catholic. Now, to press home his claim, he landed from exile in the West Country of England and he marched inland gathering popular Protestant support in what became known as the Pitchfork or the Monmouth Rebellion. Now, the revolt was crushed at the Battle of Sedgemoor on the 6th of July 1685, but James Scott escaped the battlefield. He evaded capture for a week, till he was found hiding in a ditch near the town of Ringwood. Condemned to death in his absence, there was no need for a trial. So 3 days later, he was led out and up onto Tower Hill. That was to be one of the most botched and bloodiest executions ever to have taken place in English history. The executioner, Jack Ketch, used 5 strokes of his axe to dispatch his victim. And even then, the head remained stubbornly attached to the body. So Ketch pulled his butcher's knife from his belt and it proceeded to cut through the remaining tissue and sinew, blood spraying across his face, down his hand, making the knife slippery. He continued to slice through the flesh, slicing, slicing, slicing. Are we there yet? Slicing! He finally removed the head from the body, but strangely, both the body and the head were brought back inside the tower where they were sewn back together before burial in the Chapel Royal of St. Peter ad Vincula. The reason for this, he was the son of a king. They did not have a royal portrait of him. So, they stitched his head back onto his body, they dressed him in regalia, they propped him into a chair, and they commissioned an artist to paint his portrait, which still hangs in the National Portrait Gallery. It's also believed that the artist did say this was the best sitting he had ever taken. Enough of this blood and gore! We must be heading! That's as good as it's going to get, folks. We're going to round the corner up Water Lady, Traitor's Gate and the Bloody Tower, make a gap, use your elbows because I will.